Thank you very much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I guess I have about 20 minutes, but I have content for about an hour. And I was also told because of the diverse audience we have from 35 countries, I have to speak slowly. Particularly so because I have an Indian accent, which is not very easy for many people to follow. So this is the deadly combination we are starting with. Let's see what I can do. So first and foremost, I have been in the field of marketing now for almost 32 years. And in these 32 years, I think for the first 25 years, life was sort of going in a very steady fashion. And it was very predictable. You have incremental developments and enhancements that were happening. But something happened in the last 7 years. And those 7 years have totally transformed the entire space of marketing. The consumer landscape has dramatically altered. And this is probably led by, in my own hypothesis, 4 or 5 factors like miniaturization of technology, which is nanotechnology, the exponential growth in computing power, the kind of user interfaces that have emerged, which even small kids can play with devices in a meaningful way, even before they can walk and talk. They can play with their iPads, as an example. That's the power of the user interface that you have got. The ubiquity of connection, i.e. the connectivity, the internet, which is accessible. And I still keep getting fascinated. I went to India last summer, and I was going through some remote parts, and I had complete connectivity. In the olden days, we used to struggle to get connectivity in a main city, but now it's available across the board, and that's really stunning. Plus, the prices are coming down and down. So all this massive computing power with brilliant user interfaces in very compact and mobile devices with connectivity across, available and affordable to everyone, has changed the marketing landscape, consumer landscape forever. Now, that has got significant implications, right? On one hand, the devices are going up pretty dramatically, more number of devices than there are number of people in this world. And if you look at the number of devices per family, that's something which is very fascinating. In the context of US, almost 8 devices per family. The average size of the family is about 3.5. So you're talking of multiple devices for individuals, mobile devices. In addition to this, of course, you have got your regular screens, like your television and your desktop and so on. What that means for consumers is pretty profound. High level of fragmentation. In the olden days, life was simple. We know what are the main channels, our main devices, which is in this case television, radio, outdoor. Life is very simple and easy. And even what we used to sort of gloat about, the sophistication of media planning, it's fairly simple. And all you needed to do was find out when the prime time is, determine the number of eyeballs that you want to reach in your target audience, understand your cost per eyeball, and then just sort of see whether this is something which makes sense for you to participate or not. But today, it's very different, right? Firstly, content is viewed at will, and there is nothing called prime time at all. And do you want to say the same story or put the same advertisement across all the devices, or do you want to actually tell a different story in each device to a given consumer in a contextually appropriate fashion? And it's a humongous amount of opportunity for marketers, but also it's a huge opportunity to you, for anyone, to get obsolete pretty rapidly. And in terms of some of the changes that are happening in the mindset of people around the world, this is something again fascinating. I remember way back when I used to work for Unilever in South Asia, we were doing a study at that time. We had pretty much people like this, not as many, but there were 2. There was a buyer, there was a seller at each table. And the buyers would be given some coins or some currency, and the sellers had some item that they would want to sell. And at each table we say, if you have to get into a deal, what will the price be? So each table does not know what the deal is struck at from a pricing point of view. And there was a wide range. But then in those days, we didn't have electronic boards, but then we started putting stuff on a board saying that at table 1, this is the price, at table 2, this is the price, at table 3, this is the price. When you have the transparency that is there, guess what happens to the price? The price at which the negotiations are stuck drops down. Now, that's very profound. Today, given internet, already you talked of omni shoppers and then you are going into the shop, but actually you're buying it online, comparing prices, etc. It's a very sophisticated way of how things are happening in real time, that there is a constant pressure downwards on pricing. And that information, which is perfect almost or near perfect, has again profound implications for a product profitability or a company profitability, which eventually gets reflected in how much of marketing budget you have and what accountability is placed on marketing as a function that we have to deliver. Second, for those of you from my generation who would have studied Philip Kotler and the likes, and you would have said that marketing is about really fulfilling the needs felt and latent of consumers. But fulfilling needs is absolutely not adequate these days. Everyone fulfills. That's now become almost a table stake. People want to be delighted. They want you to go over and above and beyond. Okay, so you want things at very low price because of openness. Now you want to be surprised and delighted, and you want to be given a lot more than what you're actually paying for. Third, they want to be rewarded. A reward is not something which is intrinsic in your product, but it is an additional incentive for somebody to go to your product. So keep factoring this. Low price because of information on one hand. They want to be surprised and delighted, which means not just need fulfillment, but go much beyond, which means you have to offer a bunch of features and benefits which cost you money. And then they want to be rewarded with things which have nothing intrinsically to do with the product. And lastly, there is a feeling of entitlement for consumers. All this I summarize into what I talk about my son. The rewarding aspect particularly is what I actually focus on. When in the old days again, as a student, I would ace all the exams and come back home very proud. And I show off to my parents, hey, I got this. So dad would look at me sternly and say, okay, make sure it doesn't get to your head. And next time, don't drop. Right? That was the extent of acknowledgement that we had in that generation. But today, just for taking the exam, you have to pat on the back and say, oh, wow, you have taken an exam. What a great stuff. If you look at your workforce, millennials particularly, they're constantly in need of acknowledgement and in need of recognition, right? It's not just for high performance, but just for showing up, you have to give a pat and say, you came on time for 3 days in a succession, fantastic, well done, keep it up, right? This is getting reflected in the consumer psychology today. They want recognition, they want acknowledgement, and because of perfect information, they know who else is being acknowledged or what they are being acknowledged with. Because as a consumer, when you get acknowledged or rewarded, you don't keep silent. You want to brag about it. So you go to the social media, and it's there in the marketplace. So the ability for brands to really segment in watertight compartments and secure information only to that segment is not possible. Right? And in fact, there used to be some brands which are supposed to be so exclusive that there used to be even questions as to whether this really existed or it didn't exist. But now, that kind of a mystery has been completely taken away. And all this has got phenomenal implication to people. On top of it, now look at consumers. They want experiences that are truly uninterrupted. Why do we say that they are wanting experiences that are truly uninterrupted? What's the proof point? If you look at the number of people who are saying that I have ad blocks, active ad blocks, you have got 225 million ad blocks at this point in time, active. Q4 2016, the number was 198 million. Q1 2017, it has gone up to 225 million. And to make our lives easier, the mobile phone manufacturers, for example, have now started putting ad block software preloaded into the phones that are being distributed in Asia. So that further sort of gives us more excitement where consumers are saying, now I can block you. I don't want to listen to you. Again, going back to my old days, my first boss used to tell me, advertising is all about storytelling. Consumers don't care about your products. They care about themselves. They care about listening to stories. They want to be entertained. In the process, you inform them about your product. Okay, that's incidental. But what they are looking for, that's absolutely right. But today, consumers are telling, I don't care about your stories. Keep your stories to yourself. I want uninterrupted experience. Just imagine 82 million subscribers to Netflix. And that's like billions of hours of content watching that marketers are cut out from, right? So you're being sort of completely blocked, and consumers are telling you very clearly. And if you look at the rate of growth of ad blocking, imagine 198 million people are blocking. If they are doing ad blocking, that means they are educated consumers. They are knowledgeable consumers. They know. Typically, if you look at their socioeconomic category, these are the people who have got a higher levels of disposable income. These are the people who say, I don't want it. And from 198, it has gone to 225 million in just one quarter. That's almost a 25 to 28% growth per quarter in ad block. So how do you cut through? And is it time for us to revisit our model of advertising completely and take it into a different field? And that's exactly the question that we have been grappling at Mastercard over the last 4 years that I have been there. Another point which, in fact, Stefan has mentioned, which is universally, and this is not just for the developing countries or developed countries, it's across the board. People are desiring material possessions lesser, and they are valuing experiences more. In the past, if you had a massive big bonus in a bank, you would probably go buy a Mercedes-Benz, or you would go and have a Rolex watch, or a combination of all those goodies. But today, that is not what it is. They say, can I have a holiday in Patagonia? As an example, right? There's a shift. And it's not just at the higher end. If the lower end, if you see, people are valuing having experiences in culinary, which means going to a restaurant, as opposed to buying things. So even at the lower end of the spectrum, people are now looking more for experiences as opposed to things. Why is this important? So what we actually try to bring is that we have internally evolved a model 4 years back. We call it Marketing 4.0. I'll not go into the details of this. This will take 1 hour. But all we are saying is at this point in time, our whole approach is connecting with consumers and enabling consumers to connect to things that they care about, which we call their passion points. So, net summary for me is the art of story making or storytelling. If you were to say storytelling is dead, as far as I'm concerned, when consumers are going in such an aggressive way, telling you they don't want interrupted experiences, or they don't want any brand or a product or a company to come in between their experiences. But it is all about connecting people to what they truly care about, and that's experiences. And experiences is also a massive spectrum, right? If you want to give experiences to your consumers, what experiences do you give? How do you bring your brand in authentically without force fitting? And which will be, how do you organize yourself? So we have done research around the world, and we have identified 9 passion points, as we call them. So starting with sports, then you have got arts and culture, you have got travel, movies, philanthropy, shopping, you got music, culinary, and philanthropy/environment. So these are the 9 areas, the 9 passion points that we have identified, which are universal. In some countries and in some geographies, some passion points are much more intensely present. In some other geographies, the passion points manifest themselves a little differently. And in each one of these passion points, we said that we will spend our marketing budget to create and curate experiences that will truly have scale, that will have portability from one country to another country, and at the same time, it gives us impact that we are seeking from our campaigns. So this is a pretty dramatic shift that we have embarked upon, and we are still on that journey. And to internally organize our efforts, we have created what we call as the priceless platforms. We got 4 priceless platforms. We have a phenomenal equity, probably the only brand that I could think of in the last 20, 25 years, where we have been very consistently focusing and harping on this concept of priceless. And consumers have uniquely associated across geographies Mastercard to priceless. So we didn't want to throw that equity away. But talking purely about priceless and celebrating priceless moments in people's lives, which was what the campaign was since 1997, was not adequate, because that was essentially an advertising platform. So what we said is we will go into the experiential marketing platform, and these are the 4 platforms. What are those platforms? So when you say priceless cities, if you look at the commerce that happens across the world, the top 80 cities contribute to roughly 80% of the global commerce. It's intensely concentrated. So we said we will go to these 80 cities and create experiences that money cannot buy. You can get these experiences only if you have a Mastercard. As an example, say you go to Rio. Are anyone here from Brazil? One hand. Okay, thank you. You're there. So if you go to Rio, there is that hill on top of it, there is Christ the Redeemer statue, the iconic statue, Corcovado. And there, normally people go there, see it, take some pictures, come back. One of the interesting things is if you have to take a selfie, you have to stand, and you should ask somebody to stay almost some 100 feet away so that your face and Christ's face comes in the same frame, because the statue is so big and you're so small in relation, right? So what started off as a kind of a facetious point, actually we brought in an experience out of it, where we had gone to the chapel which runs that entire establishment of Christ the Redeemer. And we had an exclusive tie-up with them, where they would permit Mastercard card holders to buy an experience which goes to that foundation which runs Christ the Redeemer statue. And you can climb through the statue, go up, sit on the shoulder of Jesus Christ, and take a picture, selfie. Right, some people care for it, some people do not. Different strokes for different folks. But this is something which has gone. It's one of our very successful experiences. Likewise, if you go to a place like Paris, and I saw French being spoken, I understand Montreal is closer than Paris. But having said that, so in France, for example, in Paris, there are catacombs below the city of Paris. And people cannot normally go to most parts of those catacombs. But if you have a Mastercard, you can book an experience to go around and visit those catacombs, or visit the Louvre Museum after the museum has closed, and watch the entire museum walk through with a candle and watch it in candlelight, which is an ethereal experience. Now, these are the experiences we are putting together. Right now, we have about 700 experiences across 45 cities, and we are trying to dramatically increase these across the top 80 cities over a period of time. That's what we call as priceless cities. Priceless Surprises is another interesting platform that we have, and I'll show you about this in a minute. So what we have done is, this is a program which we co-created with Justin Timberlake 2 years back at the Grammy Awards, which we sponsor. And there, the whole concept is, go to the social media, do intense amount of data analysis from the publicly available information, because we do believe and respect in data privacy for consumers. But based on what they tell about themselves, which is one heck of a lot, you know almost who they are, what they do, what they like, what they don't like, and what is the level of passion they have for different things. So in that context, what we do is we go and target the consumers who are in the social media, and in their social media news feeds or streams, we give them a surprise. If you're a Mastercard card holder, you get a surprise. So we would actually do that, and what we have found is, on the night of Grammy Awards when we did it, it was incredibly successful for us, where we keep giving away experiences at different levels, like unreleased songs of digital downloads of Justin Timberlake songs all the way to meet and greet with Justin Timberlake. And the ultimate is where Justin Timberlake would come to your home and spend a day with you. And if you aren't, that's true, right? It was absolute. That's something which happened, right? And if you are a Justin Timberlake fan, that's ultimate. You know, the guy is coming to your home and spending a day with you, you're in heaven. And the campaign was so successful. Now it's running in 58 countries around the world in multiple languages. And I'll just show you one example of what we do as a priceless surprise. Can you just play the Usher video, please?
So we're on our way to give a priceless surprise to one of my biggest fans on the streets of LA. Claire is a very special fan, so I wanted to do something special for her, something priceless.
Mastercard invited Claire to take part in a documentary about Usher superfans.
I think a superfan is someone who sticks with an artist throughout their career.
But that was just the start of the adventure.
I'm about to give my #1 fan a priceless surprise. Hey, Claire. This is your priceless surprise. How are you? These are for you. From me. Come here. Surprising my fans, priceless.
Right now, this is something which probably cost us much, much lesser than a regular TV campaign or a regular multimedia campaign, let me put it that way. But the impact measured quantitatively and attributed appropriately was phenomenal for us. And so these are the kind of things that we're doing, and we have completed our 600,000 of these priceless surprises so far. So this is at scale, intense, and around the world. So 600,000 priceless surprises. Now, each time a surprise looks like the previous surprise, it becomes an expectation. It's no longer a surprise. It should not be predictable. So we have to constantly think about how we have to come up with our next surprise, which doesn't look like any of the previous ones. And that's been a huge challenge and fun. And our agencies, and we are doing some crowdsourcing, and we have got partners. It's all sort of all the employees in the company and so on, they're coming together. One of the ways we are also trying to rally support for marketing within the organization as well, right? In many of the companies, probably marketing is not the one who is driving the whole company. It's very critical to really get that kind of a support and involvement from the rest of the company. So this is what's been happening. I would actually skip the other video in interest of time. If I press, will it go to the next one? No. Okay. Just one point I wanted to mention is the other two platforms I will not go in, priceless causes and priceless specials. There should be enough on the net. But in any case, what we are also trying to do is to leverage the aspects of the moments of truth, wherein contextually you are trying to reach the consumers to impact them. For example, we launched together with Samsung a refrigerator which actually has cameras inside the refrigerator. So without opening on the screen, you can see what the contents are. And if the contents are less, either it can auto-order from one of the local grocers for delivery of those items, or you can order right from there. We have got into bots and chatbots. We had done our first experimentation on chatbots last year with Facebook Messenger, and this was for our priceless, it is booking engine. We have done VR, and we're the first company who have actually brought into extra layers artificial intelligence on, or augmented reality on top of virtual reality with commerce within the context of, which means you can purchase while you're in that VR experience. What can you actually buy? You can do that if you wanted to. And we got into wearables, and sort of it's really what marketing was and what marketing is. It looks like it's a 180-degree shift from the past to present. So just wanted to give you a quick overview of our thinking and what we are doing. And if you have any questions, happy to answer for the next few minutes. Thank you.